Hey guys, welcome to the video. So in this one, I'm going to be going over my top 5 favourite movie trilogies of all time. So guys, if you enjoy this video, be sure to subscribe, click the thumbs up, and also let me know what your favourite movie trilogy is. I'd be really happy to see them, and let me know what you think of mine as well. So kicking off the list at number 5 is the Toy Story trilogy. I know there's 4 movies, and I do love the 4th one, but I consider Toy Story 1 to 3 just to be like their own storyline, and the 4th one kicking off into a new story. But I can't tell you how many times I've watched these films. I actually just love them so much, and growing up, I genuinely watched them all the time. And I just think Woody and Buzz are just like the most, like, not the most iconic characters, but they're just very iconic. And they're just like some of the most rewatchable films I've ever seen in my life. Like, I'll never get sick of them, and I just really enjoy watching them no matter how many times I've done it. So at number 4 we have the Back to the Future trilogy. I can't tell you how many times I've watched these movies over and over. And I remember the first time I watched it, I was at a family party, and I was just like, got really bored. I went up to my room and I just put on the Blu-rays and watched all 3 movies in one night. And then I just, like, one of the best nights of my life, to be honest. I'm that sad. But I just remember finding it so amazing and just wanting to be Mark McFly. Like, I just think he was like the coolest person ever when I was younger. I used to have I used to have a skateboard, I still do, but I used to want to be able to like attach it to the, not attach to the skateboard, but I used to want to like go on the back of a car or hold on to it. But I never got the chance, but maybe one day. And I just felt the score in the film was just so iconic to this day, and Alan Silvestri done amazing with the score, and I still love it. I just still listen to it every now and then. And I just think overall they're such great movies, and the Doc is just so funny in it and one of the funniest characters in a film to date, in my opinion. My number 3 pick is the Planet of the Apes reboot trilogy. I love this trilogy so much, and like the last two, I've rewatched it so many times. I thought Caesar was an amazing character, and he had a really different arc compared to the apes in the last movies, who hated humans and just wanted to take over. But instead, he just wanted his own space for the apes, while the humans were dying off naturally. And I thought it was a great spin on it, and it made him more of a likeable character. And watching his story arc throughout the trilogy was just done so amazingly. And personally, I thought the apes looked great in this trilogy. There was never at one point they looked awful. Like, I was watching it, I genuinely thought that is a real ape they're using, because everything, the CGI is amazing, the action in it is awesome, and just the overall story of the trilogy is just so well done in my opinion. And I genuinely see it as one of the best trilogies to date, and I really don't see enough people talking about it. So Planet of the Apes trilogy, one of the best ones ever, and it's in my top 3, and I'd highly recommend it to everyone. So my number 2 pick is the Dark Knight trilogy. I'm a huge fan of this trilogy. I love Batman, I love comic books, and I was a huge fan of this realistic approach to the character. I thought it was really unique, and it kind of showed you like what would Batman look like in a real world, and I was a huge fan of that. I loved Batman Begins, I loved The Dark Knight, and I loved The Dark Knight Rises. I thought Christian Bale done amazing in the role. He nailed all 3 personas of Batman very well. And while I wasn't a huge fan of the voice, he still convinced me in the role, and I really loved watching him in it. Heath Ledger was amazing as the Joker, and he genuinely stands as one of the best movie villains of all time in my opinion. He was just so intimidating in the role, and he could be goofy when he had to be, but when he was serious and scary, you knew stuff was going down, and he was terrifying. And personally, I love Tom Hardy as Bane. While he was a bit hard to understand at times, he was great in the role, and I just loved seeing Batman take on his physical presence, which he just hadn't taken on before. So I thought that was great, and I felt The Dark Knight Rises was a perfect ending to the trilogy. And then Batman Begins as well, I love it. I felt it was a bit different in tone to the other 2 movies, but it's still a great introduction to the character. And Liam Neeson killed it as Ra's al Ghul, and I loved that version of him. So yeah, overall, Dark Knight trilogy, great trilogy. Highly recommend checking out if you haven't already, which would surprise me if you haven't. So my all-time favourite movie trilogy of all time is Star Wars, the original trilogy, if you can't tell by the t-shirt. I love all 3 of these movies, and I've watched them so much growing up, and I can't tell you how much I love them. I could talk about them all day, but that would be like a 24-hour video, and I don't think anyone has time for that. But I love all 3 of these movies. Darth Vader is one of my favourite movie villains of all time. Yeah, you know, he is my favourite movie villain of all time. Han Solo is one of the coolest characters I've ever seen in a film ever, and I just remember always wanting to be him when I was younger. He just steals the scene every time he's on screen, and I loved watching Luke Skywalker go from being this farm boy to this like wise Jedi at the end of Return of the Jedi. And speaking of Return of the Jedi, I thought the fight scene with Luke and Vader and Palpatine sitting there just watching them is one of the best fights I've ever seen. You can just tell that Luke is just so annoyed at Vader. Not annoyed, obviously, he's like more than annoyed. But Palpatine is just sitting there taunting him and taunting him. And I just thought it was all done amazingly well. And you can tell Palpatine is having so much fun in the role. And personally, Empire Strikes Back is my favourite movie of all time. So yeah, the original Star Wars trilogy, if you haven't seen it, I'd be surprised if you haven't, but I highly recommend watching all three of them. Are really great movies, and yeah, just original Star Wars trilogy. I keep saying it. I can go on all day about these movies, but I love them so much.